dynamic.
I think that needs to be considered because I did. You know what I mean? When I was realizing like a cycle, you know what I mean? It was a cycle of daddy issues or mommy issues, or,
Hmm.
I'm the oldest sibling and I'm raising my younger siblings. I'm essentially the mom. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to escape. You know what I mean? Like I had a situation where literally, my ex was the older sibling raising her two younger siblings. The dad was military, so essentially, and the mom just took off. You know what I'm saying? When the last sibling was born, so she was like the mother. It was mad pressure, so she was always like running from them. She to them she was their stability, so she would move here, and then they would eventually follow. She would move to Atlanta, then they eventually would follow. She would move, you know what I mean? So eventually, she just straight went to another country. And I was in the relationship at the part at the end when she went to another country. So, you know, stuff like that. So I'm thinking, okay, if I'm dating people with a similar, to have a similar perspective because they come from a two-parent household, I think that needs to be considered. For a young person looking to date, trying to find somebody who's, equally yoked, that's something that they should absolutely consider.
So I had a few things that I wanted to say, but I don't remember everything because I kind of forgot some of what was said by her in the clip. But one of the things I did want to address was the whole thing that she said about single moms and all that. I didn't fully agree with that point either. And even some points where she was speaking, I was wondering what demographic she was speaking for, because a lot of young men that grew up in single parent households, that were single mother households, had to see their mother making her mistakes. It was no fairy tale. It wasn't a balanced woman's perspective. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they're going in a relationship thinking that a woman can do no wrong. That's one. I do agree that the behavior is the tell all. I completely agree with what Sugar Crow said earlier though, because it's about behaviors. It's about a cheater is a person that has like flawed character, period. Like they're deceptive, they're selfish, you know what I mean? And they don't respect themselves. So I'm not sure how you're going to expect respect from your partner after you cheat. You know what I mean? That's kind of, I think it's the deception and the loss of respect that typically breaks down the relationship once the cheating happens, because there's that betrayal, then of course bruised egos and all that stuff is involved. That stuff is just like a cheater is gonna cheat. Like there's nothing that you could really do to not get cheated on unless that's just that. Like a cheater's gonna cheat. You can pick up on the signs in the beginning, yes. But I do think going into a relationship assuming that a person is gonna cheat is like you might as well stay by yourself. Cause why would you bring that into, a relationship dynamic where you're going into a relationship with someone, trying to build something new with someone? Like you're just assuming that this person is going to deceive you and betray you. Like stay by yourself for that. Go heal that. You know what I mean? Um, and then the whole concept that like uh men certain men go in there, certain men the men that see distrust, like see or have sex with other men's women, see a side of women that the other men don't, and so they don't trust. Of course, a person that's not trustworthy is not going to be trusting of other people, so of course they're going to assume that another woman is going to do to them what you're having the woman that you're dealing with due to their partner. So of course there's going to be a reason for you to not trust that person or whatever. So I don't know. It was just like a few things that was said. I was just like, I don't know. Like typically I agree with most of her points, but it just didn't feel like she was speaking to like melanated people's demographic. Because maybe the single, you know, maybe white moms have the privilege and support so that they don't have to, like, you know, show their kids that they're doing certain things, or so they could pretend for their children. But more often than not, if you're growing up in a single parent household that's run by a black woman, she can only hide but so much from her kids before they realize what's going on. And if it's a young man, I do believe that young men learn, you know, about emotional regulation from their fathers. But I do think that um, if the young man has like a healthy relationship with his mother, he's gonna learn how to love a woman and how to be good to a woman from probably, like, dealing with his mom. Unfortunately, I mean, in that single parent dynamic, I don't think he's gonna just look at her again if it's a healthy relationship and be like, oh yeah, all women are either perfect or whatever based on that. Like, it's, I don't know. I didn't really fully agree with everything that was said there.
All right.
So, so
Go ahead.
T, let me ask you a question. When she made that comment that women are going into relationships with the assumption that men are going to cheat, wouldn't it also be a fair assessment that those women are also people who have cheated themselves and sort of they're operating either from a previous
Yeah.
hurt position, right? Because it's like I can't, like, we're not a monolith either, especially if we're talking about black people specifically and we're just ousting everybody else. We're not a monolith, even if we're trying to open up the spectrum. And sort of, I find it more possible that those people have endured a certain type of experience and they're operating in that current experience that they haven't gotten out of, and sort of they're making those firm assumptions, bringing them to the new relationship and poisoning the well before you even gotten an opportunity to drink from it.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry. I, you mind? I just wanted to say I totally agree with that whole idea. Like, if you're going in assuming that a man is gonna cheat, either you're a cheater or you're still hurting from the last man that cheated on you. Like, that's it's the same idea of men who just feel like women can do no right. It's because you yourself may not be worthy of the woman that is doing right, because all you do is lay with women that do no right. So, like, how you gonna expect to trust anyone if you're not showing up in a trustworthy way in the world?